All right, welcome back, everyone, and welcome to Elizabeth. Great to have you here, and happy to be ongoingly joined by Emery and Danny and James, and Peter will be back with us momentarily. So, as a recap, what is the conversation? So, what the conversation is it's not a single conversation. It's actually a network of conversations. But the name is the conversation, right? Like a brand. Okay. And the network of conversations is of the following nature. The overarching goal is the saving, healing, and transforming of life on Earth, of all of life on Earth. And one of the key missing pieces, certainly not the only one, in empowering and enabling humanity to set about achieving these goals, is that we do not have a healthy conversation-based collective superintelligence operating on the planet today. The good news is that we have all of the tools and technologies to do that, notably Zoom, but also playing very significant roles in kind of this emergent proto-network, which is about to take some quantum leaps forward into being a hyper-connected, hyper-intelligent network of conversations. And I just made up that word, hyper-connected. I just mean really well-connected. Let me just check on, okay, it looks like, all right, Daniel will be back later. And the, there's a lot more to say about the details of all that. And I point to the collective intelligence page on radish.org and the 30 minutes of video on radical collective intelligence towards the bottom of that page. There's a link to that if you want to go into more detail, but the basic idea is actually pretty simple. Imagine a network of conversations that all of which are part of what makes it a network, part of what holds it together is that there are standards by which the network operates, and the most important of those is certified compassionate, so that all of the conversations in that network are certified compassionate conversations, not just compassionate in name. Oh, we're compassionate. No, certified. That means tested, measured, and and if someone doesn't pass the test the first time, can they come back and try again? Of course. Hey, so welcome back. We are recording and live streaming, just so you know. And Elizabeth has joined us, so we're kind of doing a recap. There's a lot to be said about the rules of conversation, the overall aim or goals of the whole network, as I summarized as saving, healing, and transforming life on Earth. Lots to say about the culture of these conversations, and what do we mean by certified compassionate? But by all of this, in very simple terms, I'm saying let's elevate these conversations above a certain bar. Let's raise the bar and have these conversations with the full intention that we save, heal, and transform life on Earth, and with the conviction that it is possible. And part of the reason I know that to be true is that arguably the single most daunting problem that we're facing right now as life as a whole, not just as humanity, but as life as a whole, right? And I think that's the lens through which we should be looking, is the single biggest issue is exponential planetary overheating, which has now kicked into just hyperdrive and is on track to gobbling up the last of the Arctic ice, which we simply cannot afford to lose. In the face of that, we have a solution, which are a variety of different forms of solar radiation management, or SRM, 3 of which were conceived of by members of this community, the Radish community. But I don't want to go deeper into that tangent, but it's something that I've discussed with Professor Guy McPherson, who we're going to show a video excerpt of, just so that you get a taste of what we're looking at in terms of the gravity of the situation. And then later we can talk about solutions. But even before we get into any of that, about the specific mega problem of exponential planetary overheating, I still want to talk a bit more about the network of conversations, which we're calling the conversation. So beyond the goal and beyond basic structure like certified compassionate and whatnot for this network of conversations, first, just one other important piece of architecture, and then a couple other details, and then I'm going to pause for questions and comments and additions from everyone in the room. And when I say additions, I mean it's great to say yes and, hey, love everything you said and blop, or hey, I have an issue with this part and I would suggest this change, or so it can be and or whatever. So just feel free to offer up whatever you'd like at that moment, and throughout, including now, by the way. One basic architectural feature I want to talk about is the fact that this network of conversations has a hub and spoke model, and we should come up with a special term for it. Let's call it hub and spokesonomy model, where at the end of each spoke you can have it can kind of bifurcate into a variety of subtopics. But that's kind of higher order stuff. We'll get to that later. The main point is it's very expandable. There are not a fixed set of spokes, and any spoke, at the end of the spoke, it can branch out into multiple subtopics or whatever. But at the center is a very definite hub, and the hub is singular, and you actually happen to be in the hub right now, the singular hub. The singular hub of this whole network, called the conversation, is this particular room right here, this Zoom room that we're in right now, and this is called the lounge. So welcome to the lounge.
What about HubCon, as in con for the conversation? HubCon.
HubConv. The conv part is kind of hard to say, right? HubConv, and also
no,
I think.
No, not the V. Not the V at all. Just HubCon, CON, for conversation.
Okay,
and
HubCon. Yeah, I got it. Okay, thanks, Peter. Yeah, HubCon. Okay. Well, and James, what do you think about the term the lounge, or the name the lounge?
Yeah, the lounge is fantastic. I thought you were on about like the name for the the hub itself. Like you were given another name there, a longer name. I was saying shorten it down to HubCon.
Yeah. Well, so the hub is the lounge, and the lounge is the hub, right?
Right. I get you. I get you now.
You're both Mr. James Desmond, and you're Jimmy. You're both. Where's Jimmy? I am Jimmy. Okay, it's exactly the same. So, but sometimes I like to describe it as a hub, and other times I like to kind of sit in the sofa by the fire and say, "Hey, Jimmy, let's have a smoke," and we hang out kind of more in lounge mode, right? And the reality is that it is multi-purpose. The lounge is multi-purpose. Sometimes it acts more like a hub, and sometimes it acts more like a lounge, right? And I think that's where, and I'm really glad you raised that, James, because it just shows that, wow, this is a really big thing, and it really is multi-purpose. So we should treat each purpose with respect. So as far as the lounge, and Elizabeth, you give me a thumbs up if you're okay with me just like talking directly to. I think we'd covered that already. But anyway, okay, great, thank you. So Elizabeth, just to use you as an example, I don't like the idea of using you for anything, but to invite you to participate in an example is, and you're totally fine if you want to stay off camera. I'm not asking you to participate now, but I'm just mentioning that when you landed here, right, one of the purposes of the hub, of the multi-purpose hub, is to provide newcomers with a very gentle, compassionate, warm, loving, and respectful welcome. Thank you. So it looks like we achieved our goal there, right? I just want to ask everyone to unmute their microphone, and let's just give ourselves a round of applause. Mission accomplished for priority number 1 for the lounge. And this is, I think James is stamping his feet because his hand is in convalescence from a successful procedure, as you'll see when he comes on camera eventually. No pressure.
I was slapping me toy.
Oh, thank you. Thanks, James. So anyway, mission accomplished there. That's really good. Other purposes are to then say, okay, it doesn't end here. This is actually where it begins. This is where the network begins, here at the hub, here at the lounge. And from one of the, so part of the hub part of the lounge, or the hub part of the hub, is that we provide not only connections to the rest of the network, like, oh, you want to talk about X, Y, or Z? Yeah, go over there. We don't just point, but we actually take field trips to other conversations. Now, in the case of Dana's conversation that we took a field trip to, that's actually not part of the network, for the simple reason that they haven't been certified as certified compassionate yet, right? I haven't even actually spoken with that about Dana yet. So until they're certified compassionate, we may love them to pieces, but if they're not certified, then they can't be considered part of the network, because the promise of the network is compassion, right? Including but not limited to compassion for all participants, guests, visitors, members, leaders. It applies across the board. So we take field trips from the hub, from the lounge, whoever's interested. We go as a group to other meetings, introduce ourselves, check in. Sometimes we might just go as a single person, going and visiting different meetings. And in fact, people in conversations throughout the network are encouraged to make, as frequent as they want, visits back to the lounge to update us, but in a very personal way, right? To say, hey, we're having a super cool conversation. There's 23 people there, and I think we're really close to nailing this thing. If I were you all, I'd come. If you're at all interested, now's the time to be in on the conversation, because I think we're about to figure out something really important, right? And that kind of sums up our MO, is we're here to figure out important stuff, including but not limited to, how do we create the best possible network of conversations, right? How do we create the best possible hub? How do we create the best possible standard for certified compassionate? We actually pioneered that standard from within Radish, going back to 2014. And it's now trademarked as a certification mark, et cetera, et cetera. So it's a real thing in it, and sanctioned by the U.S. government, which I know is not saying a lot these days, but there it is. And I mean, just through the Patent and Trademark Office, that's all. Should know their means. But you know, how do we develop that, right? So again, and sometimes I go off on tangents, which I'm happy to do. But then I tend to bring it back. So bringing it back, we need to have conversations like this, which are really very intentional and bold and compassionate and safe. It's like all these good things all at once. Well, how can you be bold and safe at the same time? Well, I think we're doing it, right? So we're having conversations that have all these great characteristics about, yes, please, Elizabeth.
Bold and safe, I believe, is audacious.
I like it.
That's what came to mind.
Good. I like it.
Playfully audacious.
I love it. Playfully, yes, playfully and safely audacious. I love it. Beautiful. So we need to have these audacious conversations about the network itself, the hub, the lounge, about certified compassionate as a standard, about rules, about culture, about taxonomy, right? To what extent do we want to have this beautiful network of conversations overlaid or undergirded by a taxonomy, right? I see no harm in it, but anyway, I'm just saying taxonomy it's an important topic because there is no one taxonomy that everyone's going to agree with or that is correct or anything like that. And so because of that, when I was at Microsoft, I developed the concept of the Wixonomy, the wiki taxonomy, which is, in very simple terms, a population of taxonomies, right? Think of it as just this open source, compendium, encyclopedia of taxonomies, which people can mash up and therefore create new taxonomies out of, and they can edit and create new versions. Kind of imagine just like a GitHub for taxonomies. That's what Wixonomy is, the concept of Wixonomy. And anyway, so taxonomy and Wixonomy are important topics. We need to talk about all these things. And then for a taxonomy, there's a very special class of taxonomies, which are taxonomies that are goal-oriented, that have a single goal or an aim. In Greek, telos, for aim. And those taxonomies are called teleological taxonomies. So for example, since I'm on that topic, and it really helps to kind of visualize the whole of this thing that I'm talking about. And for this, I need to bring into service another computer. All righty, back. I'd like to ask everyone to please mute your microphones. I'm going to screen share here. And what we got is, I was talking about taxonomies, including the concept of a teleological taxonomy, which is a taxonomy with a telos, or an aim, kind of at the top of it, like this one. What's the telos? What's the aim? Whole world. A world that's whole, that's healthy, that's complete. Well, what does that mean? Well, it means a lot of things, but now here we're taking one view through the kaleidoscope at reality and saying, let's, look at wholeness for people and wholeness for the planet. Certainly not the only way we could look at this. And then we can further bifurcate wholeness for people into physical needs and higher needs. And among wholeness for planet, notably, there is water. We need whole water. And we can go on and on and on from there. And we can go deeper into many different ways. And we can do all kinds of interesting stuff in terms of this whole world. There's an interesting black box there. Remove ice from power lines. That's a really cool example of basically where we're going with this, and a methodology for how to develop solutions, joining resources to ways in which to meet a specific need. And then multiple solutions operating in parallel, modeling the intended and unintended consequences, the whole spaghetti factory. I'm just giving it just a real quick sort of virtual flyby into the world of radical collective intelligence.
This is great. This is great, Jamin, even as a quick thing, because it shows the amount of effort and time and brain power that you and your collective intelligence team and radish.org and beyond have been putting toward this for the past several years. How does this all come together? And then just last week, it really landed in a whole new way that we could just go live and do it. And here we are.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you. Yeah, there are stories behind all this that I didn't want to go into, but if you roll it all up, it all points to one place: a world that works, a world that's healthy, a world that's complete, and a world free from, mass extinction, right? Background extinction, okay, I can live with that. I'm living with some background noise over here. Somebody's working with the chainsaw. I'm not too happy about that, but, I can live with it. Mass extinction, I got a big problem with. Imagine then conversations around each and every one of those topics that we just saw in this growing topical tree, which doesn't end at the needs of a whole world, as we saw. There are ways to meet those needs, resources with which to throw into the mix, the stone soup to meet those needs, and then ultimately solutions which bridge the gap between ways and, or more precisely, as we look at different combinations of resources to address specific needs in specific ways, solutions start to emerge. And we are in a period of extremely rapid planetary overheating, which is both chronic and accelerating at the same time. And we're almost out of Arctic ice. So among the mega solutions that we need to do really, really quickly include solar radiation management. This is at planetary scale. I'm talking about millions of square miles of reflectivity in order to cool the planet in time. Oh my goodness, Brett is back. All right, I just got to sing for a moment here. Brett is back and we're gonna have a party. Hey la, hey la, Brett is back. Brett, oh my goodness, Brett. So cool to have you back. Really great to see you. We were just singing your praises earlier when we did a field trip to another meeting. And I kid you not, does anyone remember the name of the young lady who, when I was like giving my little, 45-second power synopsis, she's like, "You sound like Brett Warshawski," right? And she goes to Brett's Facebook page and she sees that we're friends, and it's just like, whoa, cool, right? So what's, and we're recording now and live streaming, and I assume you're cool with that. Okay, great, thanks.
It's the conversation, yeah?
Well, the network, it's like it's here, it's right in front of us. And one of the things that's really jumping out at us is what a small network it is, right? We keep running into the same people over and over. It's like if you take an extended trip to Chile, like I did with my dad in 2013, there's just one main highway, north-south. You keep running into the same people over and over, right? Hey, Elizabeth.
Hello to Brett. I just connected with Brett recently, so hello, Brett.
I'm telling you.
Hola, Senorita Elizabeth.
Basically, you know what this is? This is the base camp. We're not all sleeping in the same tent. We're not all in the same conversation. But you know what? It's not a city. It's the base camp to Everest. And the summit that we're all committed to is a whole world. That's our telos. That's the telos of the teleological taxonomy. And Brett, just in case you haven't seen this, and it's always worth a second and a third look, And as amazing as your mind is, I think I can get through this in like record time. I won't even say anything. Just drink it in, Brett. Just drink, go, chug, chug, chug. This is just, you know, not detailed. It's just conceptual. I call those leaf node needs. There's a really great example. We should take a little 4-minute field trip at some point, not right now, but look at the power line example. It's just super cool because here's the architecture that it reveals, or that it's an example of. How do you meet a leaf node need? How do you meet a need? Well, there's ways and subways and sub-subways. All right, what resources or combinations of resources are you going to use? Great, that's the definition of a solution. Use these resources in this way to meet this need. Some needs, so the blue ovals are solutions, multiple solutions in parallel. The red lines are unintended consequences, typically negative, but not necessarily. Actually, unintended positives are blue, unintended negatives are red. Intended is the thick blue line, so, but it doesn't matter whether it's intended or unintended. The point is, this is what happens. And so we want to come up with the optimal set of solutions, which will meet all of our needs without destroying the planet or destroying anything for that matter. So in the solution space, the network of conversations, one of the things that it needs to do, and perhaps the most urgent and therefore important thing at this time, is to develop all the solutions that we need, moderated by conversation. I mean, what else is it going to be moderated by? Brett sitting at home alone at a desk, drinking red liquid, thinking by himself, scratching his head? No, he does way better as a collective intelligence, so that stuff that he doesn't know, we can add to his amazing self. And sometimes we may need to form whole new teams because, you know what? Beep, red alert, we found out about a solution that we need to implement urgently, right? Police are killing a bunch of innocent people somewhere. Boop. Okay, let's put together the crack team, even if we have to borrow some people from some other teams, right? The network is going to be growing exponentially. So there's going to be no shortage of people, right? And we come up with the missing solution. Bigger picture, we need a model to simulate different solutions operating in parallel, rather than us try to figure out those optimal combinations by hand, or, you know, I mean, because there's infinite combinatorics at play here. That's why we come up with an optimization layer, which actually was my specialty professionally for a few years there, believe it or not, modeling and optimizing stuff. And what's the goal? An optimal set of solutions, an optimal deployment plan, and optimal results. It sounds like an advertisement. All right, with that, let's throw the car in reverse. Just take a little backward trip down memory lane, which according to Brett's neurogenetic hypothesis is actually good for remembering stuff. You're supposed to laugh, Brett. Thanks. Charity laughs, always appreciated. All right. But it all comes back to one thing: a single overarching unifying goal of a whole world, a world that works, a world that's healthy, a world that's complete, that's holistic, right? We just need a holistic set of solutions, thank you, to put out the fires, clean the water, right? Re-educate the people, just kidding. And but the thing is, this does trend towards the utopian. And with that, I'm going to do a very utopian thing and shut up and let other people speak. Going on mute.
As a neophyte in this particular circle, is there a protocol in terms of, can I share screen?
Absolutely. All you have to do is request permission, and then I'll let you do that and go for it.
Okay. I'm going to give you this first. I call it the whole shebang. Oh, wrong one. Where is it? Oh, there it is. whole shebang. And now I have to go find the other one that I was actually looking for. So this is came to me as called the blueprint of God. So basically the yin yang in the center is the generative, G. The Merkaba around is the organizing principle, O, and the toroidal field around it is, and the represented by the bars is the dissolving principle, or the, in essence, the recycling principle. So just take a minute there, and I have to call up the one I thought it was up, but it's not. So I'm gonna, and this is called the abundance model, and it's, I was a mentor with Barbara Marx Hubbard for several years.
Wow.
And so this is her wheel of co-creation, if any of you are familiar with that. And she based hers on Buckminster Fuller. So let me open it up here. Oh,
and I think we have Brett Minster full of it in the room.
We do. I know. I met him. That's how I met him. So this is the same thing, but more defined in terms of life on Earth. And to me, this is the hub and spokes. And each one of these little circles that you're seeing is another hub and spoke, and so on. And it's very scalable and exponential and repeatable. And then one more here, if I may indulge for a minute more. Let's see if I can find it here quickly. So you can see this is based on a hierarchy of needs, basically starting with food, water, shelter, and moving into, once you have food, water, shelter, then you're working on health and wellness and governance and organizing. And once those are in place, then you can have arts and recreation, and then you can really start focusing on prosperity. And of course, it's all toroidal, so it's all interwoven all together. Spirituality and religion, environment and biosphere. And actually, environment and biosphere should probably be, at this point in my development, I think that it should be brought down closer before governance and organizing, because if you don't have your environment and biosphere in correct relationship, then governance does not work. So, that's part of the way I came to water, really, is looking at this model and really looking at what's the sovereignty within this, and in terms of how do these nurture the next? That we all as humans need food, water, shelter. That's one of the most basics. And then from there, it's hang on. So I think you get the idea of where this is formed. And so inside of this is our ultimate hub, come on, open, of the water molecule and the covalent hydrogen bond. So really, if you're looking at this in kind of a little warped way, the center of this one with the yin yang is in fact I don't know if it's oxygen or hydrogen, but in essence that each, so this is the premise of the Watershed Wisdom Centers, to organize in this manner, following the abundance model and bringing humanity back into correct relationship to water, because what I'm hearing is a very elaborate plan to correct humans' bad behavior. And really, in my heart, in mind is, in body is, we just need to stop our bad behavior, number one, and get out of water's way, because water heals, water revitalizes. That's what water is, that's what water does, that's what water is always doing. And if we could just stop our creating this imbalance and do what we can in our own watershed to clean it up, clean up our shit, get rid of our mess, be responsible for our own baloney, water is going to rebalance very quickly. And to reach critical mass is all we need to do. We know this. And as soon as we reach critical mass, we'll hit a flashpoint. And I feel that's what's happening right now in our coming together. Ah, beautiful. Yeah, and how is it that we're all suddenly coming together in this week, right?
No, it's divine.
It is
It's
divine. Yeah. So I felt very inspired to share that with you all, because it's something that I started coming in 2012, 2013, and till today, and didn't really have a place for it. So I'm happy to find a crew that can hang with it and understand the model. So I love you all already. I've just been here for
Elizabeth, I just have to sing before I pass the mic to Brett, and then on to James, and so on. And so there's a place for us, a time and space for us, to create a new way of being, where we don't have to fight, dominate, or eat each other, etc. Go for it, Brett.
I don't know. I think it might be time to have a breakdancing celebration in honor of abundance and synergy and co-creation. So we're just gonna have a little. That's about as far as I ever got in the mid '80s. I'm just happy to be here, and it's all good. I popped my screen up there just for a second to say, like, maybe we'll just build some awesome software that supports the taxonomies and the connecting and the co-creation. Oh yes, we're doing that, all of us, yay. So very exciting, as Barbara was way ahead of her time and left some stuff on the table. So we're gonna take that baton and finish the job.
She left us a few tasks to do. And she had to really reconcile that she wouldn't be here to see it, but you know what? She's here to see it.
Absolutely. I remember one of my first connections with Barbara was one of the first group phone programs that they did. It was called the Gateway in 2000. And it was like hundreds of people on a phone call together, right? All studying the latest of Barbara's work. And I just remember that feeling that I'm feeling again now, of this interconnection and the newness of the latest technology interconnection, where you could have a couple hundred people on a phone call and just feel like you were part of something that was really emerging culture, and feeling that here today. And great to be here with you guys.
No, what an amazing group. Look at us. Just look around the room. What an amazing group we have here. And oh my goodness, it's just like, this is so it. I just want to take this moment. Thank you for the breakdancing, Brett. But I mean, this is just, it's so clear. And the dynamics are being exercised this morning exactly as we intended. We're going to do field trips. We're going to meet new people, right? Invite them back to the lounge, baby, right? Put on some music, you know, do a little dance, and it's just like, whoa. So anyway, we were talking, Brett, when you jumped in, we were giving a broader introduction to the network. In network, which is certified compassionate. So if it's a certified compassionate conversation with a certified compassionate leader, then it's certified compassionate. And that's in network. It could be the most amazing conversation in the world, like Dana's today, but since it hasn't been certified compassionate, then it's just by definition out of network. It's not like out or anything bad like that. It's just out of network. Nothing wrong with that. But this definition and this self-identification of networks, I think, is actually really important. It gives people a container within which to be safe, and if they want to hang with their tribe, however they define it, an intellectual tribe of all colors and ages and genders and everything else, great, but tribes are tribes regardless of how they're constituted. So you've got your hand up, go for it.
Want a 2-minute musical interlude? I've got a song lined up, okay?
Yeah. Did you want to share it, or do you want to send me the link?
I'll just put it because it's on loudspeaker anyway. You'll hear it if I just leave my speaker on.
Ah, okay, very good, very good.
Here we go. We forgot to move that along.
Hey, so
It's, sorry, just a minute. The screaming is a bit much, isn't it?
well, you could just sing it for us, so.
The screaming in it was it was like a 60s recording from Top of Popsizing, but I really like that, the guy singing it. But do you know who it was? Do you know who it was?
No.
His name's PJ Proby, a real 60s guy, you know. But the trouble is, screaming was in passion, and in the recording, all the girls were screaming. But never mind.
Okay. All right. So awesome. But anyway, so so conversations in network and out of network, and the hub for this particular network is this Zoom video conference room right here, talking about an augmented reality game, or what do you call it, Brett? Not augmented reality, but something about changing reality. ARG. Anyway, this is it. We're changing reality here by co-creating the network, which will be part of the network of networks, which goes collectively super intelligent to save, heal, and transform life on Earth. You know, you got to start somewhere. Somebody needs to hit the first, the cue ball or whatever you call it in pool, right? That breaks up the triangle, right? This is the opening break. Boom. Right? This is it. For this particular.
Nice metaphor there, Jamie. Somebody has to break the rack.
Break the rack, baby.
Boom.
Break the rack with the opening crack. Or as we say in New Jersey, give me the clap. Boom. 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 I say that to Brett because he's from New Jersey.
So I would offer, once more in my sort of water world, that if what we are being, our assignment is to heal all life on earth, if we start with our essential water first, then we're making it so much easier for ourselves. And so basically, thus the Watershed Wisdom Council's connected by a virtual reality game, however else we want to connect it, but that every watershed has its groups, and the Great Planetary Water Cleanup as being a very specific task in the next 10 years. And of course, stopping our behavior so we don't have to keep, changing our behavior, so that we don't have to keep up with this, that we can allow water to heal herself.
All right. I am so glad that everyone here knows what I'm talking about when I say welcome back, Cotter and Monty Python, because I'm going to use both those metaphors right now. Don't you guys just feel so privileged that there aren't like any 17-year-olds in the room or 29-year-olds who don't know? I mean, I can just invoke. So I'm going to invoke. I'm going to do a power invoke. I've got this MacBook Pro. I can do like a power click on. Well, I'm going to do a power invoke. Yo. First, power invoke is a Horseshack. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Ooh, 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 ooh. Right? Okay. Next power invoke, Monty Python. All right, remember how like, you're sitting there on a Friday night watching a Monty Python show, drinking a whatever, and then there's people like, oh, there's an orchestra, it's like all animated, and then boom, the big foot comes down, right? So I'd love to make eye contact with you for this next portion, Elizabeth, if that works for you, and if not, no big deal. But thank you. So if you look at exponential planetary overheating, like this curve, like this, right? This is so vicious and upward exponential in planetary overheating, in the planet absorbing and taking in and retaining too much heat. And Guy McPherson, Professor Guy McPherson, who we're about to get a visual introduction to in a moment, he has identified at last count no fewer than 67 self-reinforcing feedback loops, driving even steeper exponential planetary overheating. And at some point it reaches a breaking point, and it's just like, there's some, science fiction inspired manifold that once you pass this certain point, there, it's just like physically impossible to turn it around at that point. And I invoke Monty Python because we need something about as strong as a Monty Python foot to stomp on this thing, right? We're not going to convince it to stop and then turn around, with like, touch-free massage, right? We're not gonna get it to stop and turn around by like playing nice music to it, or all holding hands and saying, "Planet, please cool off." Well, the good news is we have the technology. And I'm so glad everyone here also knows $6 Million Man. So we have the technology, right? We can cool the planet, but we got to break out Oscar Goldman and the big guns. Oscar Goldman needs to answer the phone, and he needs to fucking drop everything, pardon the F-bombs, and say, all right, we're breaking out the big guns. We can rebuild it. We can rebuild him. In this case, we can cool the planet. And pardon my passion. It's just nothing but passion. The big guns are solar radiation management, reflecting a significant portion of the sunlight back into space, right? That is because, see, anything that has to do with decarbonization, drawdown, even water. I mean, the reason I went to MIT as a graduate student was precisely to figure out what are the hydrologic levers that we can pull right? And I think, Elizabeth, you know the best one of all, which is get the hell out of the way of water, right? Let watersheds do their job. Don't dam it up. Don't, you know, contaminate it with phosphoric whatever fertilizers, or I don't know what the bleep, dirty dozen. I mean, is there anything we haven't dumped into it? Anyway, you get my point. But of all of those levers, unfortunately, and here's the reality we must face, and Guy McPherson says it better than I, all the king's horses and all the king's men and all those levers, including the lever of getting the heck out of her way, are not enough of a foot to stomp on this hard enough to make it actually turn around and go scampering off in the other direction, which is what SRM can achieve. The time for half measures is over, right? Okay.
And recognizing that all of that you're speaking of is essentially an inside job. That's the biggest gun of all, is changing our inside perception of our relationship to the planet. And working from the inside out and changing ourselves first.
And we are starting right in the hub of the network called The Conversation, the hub being the lounge, right? Co-christened by Peter and myself just hours ago with Emery and James and and you and Brett, and oh my goodness. And this is just the beginning. So we're starting right here in the center. We're going center, 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 but it's the center of us. This isn't Jamin on the top of some mountain going, you know, like, and shit, you know, all by myself, right? This is us holding hands, locking arms and saying, okay, we're all in this together. Let's find our collective center, right? Let's unify. Peter, unity symbol, please. In fact, if you don't mind taking a 30-second advertisement for the unity symbol, Elizabeth, please. Watch Peter.
Yeah, so 26-year passion of mine to update what we think of peace and to take peace to the next level, because clearly the way we've been playing peace doesn't work. And the two-finger peace sign also has run its course, in my opinion. So we add to that. This used to, originally this was V for Victory, Winston Churchill. And then the powerful youth anti-war movement picked it up to mean let's not fight. And now it has a chance to stand for something else. And I call it the unity sign. Now it stands for we used to think we were separate. But we are remembering, the fingers come together as they come to the heart. We're remembering that we're one family, one life expression. And when we come from that unity consciousness, that heart-based place, we can act together peacefully on the planet. So the unity sign is a peace in, peace out move that says, I'm doing my best to remember and to come from my heart when I act on the planet. It's called the unity sign. It goes like that. It got to be launched last week, really heavy in the World Unity Week program, and it's ready to spread around the world. So enjoy using that to your heart's desire.
Can I offer my addition to that?
Please.
I was big on this when I was in high school. So, and Tricky Dick, you know, so, and then, you know.
Oh, nice.
That's it.
Yeah. No,
So
that's
really
great. Yep.
From here, it
both
it
in
together, yeah.
Double loop infinity,
Mhm.
blossoms into the heart sign, into the ethers. Awesome. That's the advanced class for people who are ready to go past the peace in, peace out version. I like that, Elizabeth. Nice.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. This is collective intelligence, collective heart, collective spirit, collective intention, teleological taxonomy. It's all those good organic things from the garden, Elizabeth's garden thrown into the Vitamix, blended up fresh. And that's what I'm talking about. So it's a multi-ingredient, multi-level multi-layer, it's a hyper object. This whole thing is just one giant hyper object. And that, for me, when I say hyper object, it kind of gives my whole body and being permission to just kind of let go and say, okay, I don't have to try to hold this, right?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Very good. You know what I just caught the tail end of you, Brett, yesterday on the show. I'd love to hear a little bit more about how you entered into the whole vortex of this human unfolding and what's top of mind for you.
Sure, anytime. Good time now, or yeah. Do you mean the vortex specifically of the block party, or the vortex of the planet of my last 40 years?
Yes, start with the 40 years. Begin with how your parents met, and give us the 5-minute Brett Wojciechowski story.
Come on, man, it's phonetic. Warshawski. Don't be intimidated. Well, my favorite story about my parents, ironically, not something I normally share, but I think I will because it's fun, is they met at a camping thing in upstate New York. And apparently, my dad thought my mom liked to get up early and go to flea markets because that's what they did at the moment. And my mom thought my dad was the life of the party because he was quite extroverted or whatnot. And then after that, now they've been married, whatever, 40 years. He never leaves the house. He's not extroverted whatsoever. And she hates getting up early and going to flea market. So it's a true case of opposites attract. And my wife always says I'm quite clearly a hybrid of my mom and my dad. So of almost this 50-50 sort of rational, irrational, logical, dreamy type.
And you never get up early and you never leave the house, so you got the best of both worlds.
So I've got all of it. I don't like getting up early. I still don't get up early, but I am quite outgoing. What would I share? I'm from New Jersey originally, Peter. I've been a global nomad the last 8 or 9 years. I'm currently in the north of England with my wife. We had a self-declared spiritual marriage, not a legal one, so we don't have green cards in either country, which has always been sort of part of the adventure. So we would adjust to the visa regulations, and we mostly work in a gift paradigm and through co-creation and all that. So we didn't have a steady income. Sometimes we had more gifts and funding through philanthropists, sometimes nothing at all. So we kind of go with the flow of the project and where the energy is and the regulations. So the pandemic threw an interesting monkey wrench into our thing, because it was kind of scary to think if we got separated physically. She's not even allowed in the US right now, to get separated physically, and then think what happens if there's another pandemic or something and they shut the airports for 5 years or whatever, and then what are we supposed to do? So that's been a new interesting turn for us. Aside from that, we've been doing research, development, and design and embodiment of what I call spirit-motivated social action and socio-technologies. So we studied with Barbara a few different times in different places, and some of her peers, like Catherine, the co-creators handbook guide that Catherine and Carolyn Anderson wrote. And we kind of been in those spaces, learning from some of the pioneers in co-creation. So we're really just looking at whole systems thinking, co-creative thinking, synergistic thinking, and putting those into, I hesitate to use the word platform, because I think what we've been up to is more like a golden innovation, as Barbara coined from the woman, I can't remember the woman's name who actually coined at the moment, golden innovation. So it's kind of like a system or a meta innovation or some kind of, more than a platform to me, but I guess platform is fair enough. So we've been looking at all these different elements of a whole system, like how people make choices together, how people share resources, how they share IP, how they do personal work, how they do collective transformational work, what kind of architecture would allow people to scale in their co-creativity from the individual to the, to the planetary level. And we've kind of been dipping our toes in each parts of the wheel of co-creation, each parts of a whole system, rather than maybe specializing in any one specific thing and becoming an expert in that. So if we're an expert in anything, it's probably the meta level architecture and then some of the technology, hopefully, that would underpin that and allow this to happen. So we quite started off using holons. Arthur Kessler, you know, holons. Ken Wilber used it in integral theory. Holons are basically something that's a whole and a part simultaneously. So, you know, synergy is kind of represented by that. He coined the word, Arthur Kessler, 60s cyberneticist. He basically was looking around at the universe and nature and thinking, wait, everything's kind of a whole and a part, you know, nothing is independent from something else. Like, it appears that I'm a whole, Brett, but I'm also part of a community that's part of a nation, blah, 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 or atoms and molecules, etc.
Oh, that's
So
really great.
he
I look
thought I
forward to
needed to.
hearing you. I look forward to hearing you share more about that, because the story that I shared there, the waves of oneness I put in the chat, is my expression of that whole and a part at the same time. That while we are individual waves, we're also expressions of the ocean, which means we are the ocean expressing at the same time. And there's more than one thing going on here, but we've been tricking ourselves into thinking that somehow we were just one thing going on. And that's the big unfolding, I think, that makes for unity consciousness capacity. So thank you. I look forward to learning more about that, the holon and some of that. So thanks.
Totally, yeah. I mean, I think Arthur Kessler, my my rendition of it, I might have read it somewhere, but now it's in my head. I have this rendition that he was looking around and he thought, you know, I need a word for this. I need a word for this thing that everything's a whole and a part. So he came up with the word holon, and coined it. And then from there, holons became part of like cybernetics and systems thinking. Ken Wilber, the famous integral philosopher, also used holons like in the psychological mapping realm, like that we build. We're all transcending and including. That's a holonic way of thinking. We're always transcending and including the next step, but they're all part of a holarchy. So a holarchy is different than a hierarchy, so to say. So we were looking at what I call holonic perception more than anything, and applying that to sort of technology and social architecture. You know, how do we organize in holons? Compared to maybe just circles, you know, like holacracy and sociocracy often talk about circles and interconnected circles. They're sort of like a holarchy of those circles. But even one step further, perhaps, is even understanding that every one of those circles is a holon more than just a circle, so to say, because it's made up of other holons and it's part of these other holons. So now it's easier to see your organization more as an organism, because it's made up of all these cells that are really one social body, you might say, is the word that we use. It's a social body. That's what the planet, we're all social bodies. And then for fun, we also call it a united fractal organism, a UFO, instead of a DAO, which is popular in the blockchain. If you're familiar, decentralized autonomous organizations. We're going to take that a step further to become a unified fractal organism, which is like Spaceship Earth, you know, in honor of Bucky. So for me, it's more fun to have a UFO than a DAO per se, just from entertainment value, and also actually more accurate in a sense for me.
Got to have the entertainment.
So yeah, we've been
value.
doing all that stuff. Got to have the memes, got to have the marketing. That's my favorite thing. So all that said, I'll just share a tiny bit more about me. I've been involved for 8 years in kind of a lot of the systems thinking, social architecture, and software, like user design and all that, but I never really set out to do any of that. It wasn't necessarily my highest passion or calling to create those things. What brought me into that space, along with falling in love with my wife, who I'm on my team here with, is because I'm on the bigger mission that we're all on, which is unity and co-creation and cooperation and sharing, and really going to what I call a gift civilization or gift consciousness, beyond even transaction and tokens. I'm not into tokenization, and conscious capitalism doesn't do it for me. All these tokens and capitalism on blockchain doesn't do it for me. I'm looking to like get to a gift civilization where everyone gets what they need according to what they need, and people give according to their abilities, and that's as simple as that, really. So what I've done a lot of in our project is that I like to talk. I like story. I like Hunter S. Thompson, gonzo journalism. So I feel like a gonzo journalist. Like, I never say I'm objective. I'm in the story of co-creation. I like to heart market. There's a thing called the gene keys that's in my DNA, this heart marketing. I like cultivating relationships. I like story.
And the story ends there.
The story pauses there.
Must be a commercial break. He was pausing for a commercial break.
Up commercial break. Yeah.
Okay.
Am I back?
You're
Am I
back.
You're back. You're back.
You had a
Okay.
near-death experience, but you're back.
Well, yeah, anyway, I like all that kind of stuff, marketing, storytelling, and I went to film school when I was 19, and I had what depends on what paradigm you're in, a psychotic break, a spiritual emergency, or a shamanic awakening. I was in New Jersey, so I got classified as psychotic break, and went through about 10 years in the mental health paradigm, so I've got a big mission to shift pharmaceuticals and perceived mental illness. I call it. I don't even call it mental illness. I call it transforming perceived mental illness, because it's all a bunch of BS, and the semantics actually matter in most cases, and especially the case of this. So I had a lot of time to study. The beauty of that time was I kind of isolated and was able to study and think about anything I wanted. So that's how I became sort of a generalist and fairly knowledgeable. And self-inquiry was really my only vocation in my life, because I never fit in and I didn't know how to get a job. I had to talk my way into everything. I didn't have a CV. So really, I'm a professional, I guess, philosopher even, so to say, because I've always been doing self-inquiry, really. Following Maharishis, who am I was my big practice. And lately, as far as what I was doing the other day, I'm starting to put more attention and intention back into that film, that love of film and storytelling, and taking kind of the parts of our project, instead of focusing so much on governance and software and all that. I'm still contributing and 100% into and behind our project, but I'm moving into what I call Togetherland. So our project's called Together. The system's called the Together Life System. The movement's called Together. And so I call it Togetherland, based on the inspiration of the movie Tomorrowland. And basically, I'm looking at alternate and infinite reality instead of finite and infinite games. I'm looking at alternate and infinite reality games, let's say. There already exists something called alternate reality games, which is what I was talking about the other day with this world without money idea. But then that's all a prequel to me, to Togetherland, which is an infinite reality game and what I call a transmedium production. Because, transmedia is generally assumed to mean like internet stuff, basically. But the word medium is anything that we use, even our consciousness. I mean, physics is a medium, so to say. Religion is a medium, if I want to get poetic. Permaculture is a medium. Nanotechnology is a medium. So I'm interested in transmedium. What happens when, it's kind of the Barbara thing, really, like synergy. What happens when we throw all these mediums into a pot and stir them together? For me, you get infinite reality, not virtual reality. It's transcendent. It's transcendent include. Infinite reality includes virtual, augmented, nature, novelty, anything. We don't even know. I mean, that's the singularity to me, but the singularity for me is driven by compassion and love more than escaping death, and mostly what the transhumanists, as far as I understand it, basically scared of dying, as far as I'm concerned. So they're trying to upload their things and become robots and stuff. I'm having a little fun with the transhumanists, but I'm kind of serious as well. Um, so that's what I've been focusing on, and I've got a couple of things I could send you if you want to take a look, Peter. They're not very long, of what I'm seeing with Togetherland and this world without money. Is basically the prequel to Togetherland.
Absolutely. That is so. I've been 26 years trying to urge forth that Togetherland and the peace movement, if you will, or the unity movement, and have a big spiritual background also in how can we present spirituality so that people can grasp just the grand image of the ocean and the wave, basically, that we're connected to something much grander to ourselves, and not just connected superfluously. I think that's the right word. But
Superfluously, yeah. It's
superfluously,
hard to say that word.
hearing you talk about Togetherland is just boom, straight in, because I have several fables that I've written that all speak to the same story and retell holiday stories to where we see things from this grander perspective has been one of my favorite focuses. I have what do I have? I have Valentine's Day, Easter, Halloween, Christmas, Adam and Eve, and then this waves of oneness story, all that retell the way we've looked at things into a more unified package as that kind of medium to get into, right? Because when parents read a children's fable to their kids, then they're having to read it too, and they're having to feel it. You know, I call my stories for children of all ages, right? It's we're all
Right.
still so young at awakening to this. Yes, so go ahead.
Well, I'm really pleased that you write fables, because I've written fables, and I think they're a really important. They're a traditional form. They kind of they can be the deepest, highest level of philosophy, and then anyone can understand them at any level. And I've got one friend. I haven't seen her for years, but she's joined me on social network, and she was like me. She was writing these fables. Now, they never ever had any value at that time in terms of sending them off to making money from them, and that it was almost like a necessity to write them. And recently I did another one. It was about animal slavery, but you know, out of all the writings that I've ever done, I love those. I don't love things that I've written. I have boxes of stuff, and I was like, I don't care about stuff that I've written. It's almost like I dislike it afterwards. But I've always loved my fables. I really, really love them, and I think they're a really important form. They're wisdom literature, aren't they? They come into that genre with wisdom literature. Yeah, so I'm really pleased to come across. Do you write really short ones? Because I write, pretty much like the Grimm's, the Grimm's old wives' tales or whatever they are. I like really short, but you know what a fable is. It's got everything in it, isn't it?
Yep. No, the shorter the better. That's the whole thing. How can I capture a point and make a point as short and simple as possible? I think the longest thing I've written is 15 pages, and that was the Adam and Eve, the Divine Comedy. But I put in the chat room, I put me reading the Waves of Oneness story just last week during World Unity Week. But I'm cleaning up, and we'll be able to post some more of my stuff. Well, actually, quite a bit of it is up on my website, petermelton.com.
Okay, I'll go and have a look at that. I wanted us to, as part of collective intelligence, I mentioned it to Jamin a while ago, I don't know whether he remembers, that I wanted us to have our collective intelligence fables and have a collection that's part of the group.
Amen. Here we go, girl. Me and you.
I've got 6 from that I wrote long ago, and then I've got the one recently. But I don't know about you, but if you're writing a fable, it's like you're trying to find something out to yourself. It's like a journey of like, you don't know what you think until you've written it, and then you can reread it, and you see different things all the time. Oh, I hadn't thought of that. So, like, mine would come into different things. Like this one in particular I've got is about thinkers being mistaken for tramps. Like the most highly developed person being mistaken for a sort of flick away tramp. So yeah, and one recently was, a solution. I like solution fables. I like ones that have solutions to them. Yeah, I've got a few of those. Yeah.
Great. Well, I look forward to seeing those, and that'll be one of the first things that we put up on the website is click here for stories to help share these important messages. And everybody who's got any kind of story to share, we'll just put there, whether it's video or text or whatever modality. And amen. Awesome. And so it is. And so you are.
And so it is. Have you come across David Bohm's Hollow movement, Peter? David Bohm, the physicist? Have you ever read any of his work?
I know the name. I've watched a couple of videos a long time ago, but nothing really recent.
Yeah, he coined something called the Hollow movement, which was not a social movement, but we've been using that a lot as far as together as a hollow movement, because, well, hollow means entire, complete, or hologram. It's got all those connotations, but his explanation is quite neat. You can just look up the wiki for hollow movement. It's the layman's thing. It's the ocean. David Bohm's work was very much about the ocean and the drop. So he talked about wholeness and the implicate order. So first of all, our architecture and designs have been working with that premise without knowing it at first, before we really understood his work a little bit, is that we're really designing from wholeness backwards to the so-called parts, rather than what most people have done is designing parts, trying to put them together to be holistic. So really designing from wholeness is inverting everything. You're designing from oneness, wholeness, and then so he has something called the Implicat Order, which was like the ground of all. I don't think it's the ground of all being, like spiritually. For me, I think he was talking about the ground of all matter, like all that is, but physically, like physically and tangibly, the ground of all matter. Still awesome, powerful. I think what he would have acknowledged, he's not talking about quote unquote the ground of all being that is usually used in spirituality, but the Implicat Order was this ground of all being, I'll use the word for now, and the explicate order was when that unfolds over apparent time, all these patterns and parts seem to be there, like the drops in the ocean. They seem to be separate elements, but really they're just temporal relative happenings that look distinguishable from that implicate order, but they always end up going back into the implicate order because they never, it's kind of like that oil thing. If you've ever seen that oil drop where you twist it and then like the kind of the parts come back together. So the implicate and the explicate are kind of like that. So they're just little notes you might want to check. There's a new movie out about David Bohm's life, actually, which I haven't seen, but he was friendly with Einstein and Krishnamurti. So he's famous for like the holographic principle type of stuff. And I just thought of him when you were talking about the ocean and the wave and the explicate and his version of the explicate and the implicate and all that.
Yeah, that's perfect. If you could post a little in the chat room on that too, that's
Yeah,
delightful. Thank you very much.
I will. And I also posted the actual opening chapter to his book on Facebook. Are you on Facebook, Peter? I'll
Yep.
link you to that because I think everyone should read this opening chapter to David Bohm's book. It gets really mathematical after that, but the opening chapter is so beautiful to me about how he talks about how hypotheses in science and physics are really lenses of they're only theories, even if they work at a certain time. And he even uses the etymology, I think, of perspective or something. I wish I could say more elegantly, give a review, but I just think his first chapter is so powerful, and the idea of not mistaking the map for the territory, as they say, and understanding that all these hypotheses are always only a temporary lens of looking at physics or life. And it's just a beautiful chapter. So I'll remember to send you that as well.
That is awesome. Thank you. Thank you. And I just found you on Facebook. How did you end up here? What was your path to Jamin?
Oh, Dylan Howard, is that Dylan's right? He hasn't been around for a while. A mutual friend of ours, Dylan, basically
Yeah,
messaged me saying
he was here last weekend. Yeah.
I was awesome. Yeah, just a mutual friend said check out the Block Party or the Solutions Club. You should. I think that's all he did was message me, and then I just came on.
And how long ago was that?
Probably like 3 months ago or something like that. I like the community here a lot.
Yeah, maybe even 4 months ago. I think it was pretty early on in the evolution. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
This is my favorite community of people like online. I mean, I do a lot of calls. Like I've been a networker for our project, so I'm seriously like just always on calls, always finding out what's going on. Which I like to do for the most part. I like to know what's happening and to integrate it like into our work and let my teammates know. A lot of them are introverted, like channeling, like downloading these architectures and ideas and stuff. So I mean, not to put anybody in a box, but I'm clearly extroverted and clearly like the guy on the ship that looks out on the thing and likes to know what people are doing and bring the bounty
Amen.
back
Me
to
too.
integrate it.
Same story here.
Yeah.
I want to know everything that's going on and report back and share and connect people. I love connecting people.
Yeah, me too.
Well, I just got to do a Horseshack.
That's everything. Thank you for asking, Peter. Everyone, thank you for listening.
Oh my goodness! No, and don't stop. I mean, you carry on. I just wanted to do a Horseshack ooh and just say to the whole group here, holy shit! that Brett Warshawski on Interdependence Day 2020 says that his favorite community is this one, that is one hell of an accomplishment. Because if I had to create sort of like a persona, you know, like we do like in software, you know, here, let's create this kind of like, you know, I would ask Brett to very kindly close his eyes and nostrils, and I'd just do a giant plaster cast, and I'd say, here, you know, here's your persona. This is what we want. And the fact that Brett, I mean, it's just like, wow. I mean, it's just, everyone, just take a moment and like, you know, just thank heaven and thank Brett and thank us all, each and every one of us, for co-creating this amazing community. And welcome, Elizabeth. Oh my goodness, it wouldn't be the same without you. And I am so grateful for the Divine Feminine here in the house. And in fact, that's the name of a program that we have on the Block Party from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Pacific time every Friday. It's the Divine Feminine. Yeah. And it's co-led by my partner, Melissa, Jackie, and Myra. Jackie and Myra in Arizona.
Beautiful.
And it's the most wonderful program. Today we had 3 African-American artists talking about Black Lives Matter. Mm-hmm. And talking with each other, and the rest of us were just, for the most part, just chilling and listening, right? And it was absolutely magical. Anyway, so wow. Anyway, I just wanted to honor this moment, because this is just incredible. Not incredible, but just absolutely wonderful. Let me put it in those terms. Absolutely wonderful. Each of us has been on an amazing journey through life of discovery. And for the most part, we were, you know, a lot of the time, if not most of the time, alone, right? And with the 48 hours of contiguous, it's like we broke the sound barrier. We broke the separation barrier. And we said, listen, we're better together. Let's do this. And we're on an exponential track to 24/7, to the lounge being open and led by one or more certified lounge leaders. Certified compassionate.
So quantum love is even more contagious than any virus.
Nice. It's something in the water, right? And
in the water.
Yeah, I want some of what we're drinking. There we go. Yeah, the more I just sit with this, Jamin, and just begin to imagine, I mean, all of us have already been in groups like this, right? This is a familiar kind of landing spot, and where people would get together on Zoom and really pour out themselves and be transparent, or be vulnerable, or be open. But there's just a whole 95% of the world out there who I sense have never touched anything like this, where they could land and have this kind of connection with people, and turbocharge their transformation, right? By having guidance. You have a friend who's guiding you to wherever you might think you want to go. And if you don't know where to go, then that guide can also just say, well, here's what a bunch of the people are into this, or what turns you on. Is it animals, or is it nature, or is it, you know, politics? What gets you going? And let's go there. And maybe you need to watch a Marianne Williamson speech, right? And maybe that'll open you up in a certain way. Or, you know, is it that you need to see what's happening to the polar bears for you to get turned on that next level? And I just see dozens and dozens of people at the start here landing and going, oh my God. And then, like you were saying before, Jamin, then the buzz on the street is, have you been to the conversation? Right? Are you
in the conversation? Are you in the conversation? And don't forget the imperative, it's time for a conversation.
Yeah. Yeah, and we're going to ask better questions, and we're coming up with better answers, and we're guiding each other. We're collective intelligence in motion. We're this living Zoom operator, right? Or called lounge wizards instead of lounge lizards, right? It's like we're gonna be there making magic with people, right? And everybody can do it. I see
Oh, we
this.
can update it. I'm the Wizard King. I can do anything.
There you
I'm
go.
a Jim Morrison fan. We can
There
change
you
it from the
go.
Lizard King to the Wizard King. Thank you. I like
Yep.
words.
Oh, love
So-
words.
One of my nicknames from Elizabeth is Lizard Breath.
Beautiful.
So now I guess I'm Wizard Breath.
Wizard breath, you are.
Wizard breath. All right, I'll take a whiff of that. And meanwhile, we got So with her hand up. Go for it, So.
Sorry, I forgot what I was going to say because I was trying to work something out.
But you know, that's one of the beautiful things, So, is that we just, you know, just throw the ball out there to the rest of the Harlem Globetrotters, and you know, we'll just make magic with it.
There you go. I've always loved the Globetrotters, but when you were talking about wizards, the Wizard of Oz was always and still is one of my top favorite movies, and now we become the Wizard of Iz, which is a story I tried to start writing years ago. Right, the present moment, we're the Wizard of Iz. That this is the Iz happening right now. That some thought that there's an Oz far away for you to get to is just completely missing the point, which eventually is what circles back for Dorothy. Dorothy, right? It's a twister. It's a twister. And and yeah, that there's all these reframings that can happen, just like we just had 5 or 6 right there, right? That new ways of saying things. Yes, So?
Sorry, yeah, what I wanted to ask you is if it's 2 o'clock in California, what time is it here in UK?
10 p.m. If that's 2 p.m. you're talking about, so they're
Okay,
8 hours.
yeah.
We're
Thanks,
8 hours
Jim.
ahead.
Thanks, James.
8 hours. Yeah.
Yeah, I can never work it out. And you know, like the thing I find online, it's giving me different times. But okay, thank you very much. By the way, I don't want to be a wizard. I just no.
You're muted there, Brett. Or Peter.
Yeah, thanks. I was saying I like your laugh, So. I wasn't sure exactly what you said, but the fact that it caused you to giggle, So, was all I needed.
What do you know? Like I laugh a lot, and a lot of the time I don't really know why I'm laughing. I just, it's like I think I'm just a natural yoga laughter person. I've obviously, I tapped into that.
Yeah, laughter yoga. I have a laughter yoga friend that I got mixed into the World Unity Week, and she'll be coming on here. Carla Brown, she'll be coming here to help us do laughter yoga. But when the laugh comes from a place that I can't quite recognize, I call that the cosmic chuckle. That deeper part of me is just laughing at just how beautiful the journey is, right? This remembering and forgetting journey, where we chose to trick ourselves into these bodies, into this experience that appears to have separation and appears to have linear time, and was just planted with all this forgetting, because infinite me has forever to make up new games to play. And as Alan Watts says so sweetly, he said, with infinity happening, eventually we were going to get to this game, that we were going to play it this way. And here it is. And this just happens that we're playing it this way now, where we forget, and we have just these little inklings of remembering, and then we forget again, and remember and forget, and remember and forget. But there seems to be, a little bit more magic in the soup right now, where the remembering is happening. And I think that's what's happening in my world, is that I think that humanity is having a mass remembering, and that we may be able to have a mass remembering now. I choose one now, right? And that we can spread that mass remembering now. We don't have to wait till we die to realize that the wave blends back into the ocean, right? That that will show up when our bodies are done, but the possibility of living it now as the wizard of this is moment, right, that allows me the chance to be present to the infinite nature of who I really am. Ho, 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 ho.
Yeah,
Something like
let's
that.
take a moment to let that one sink in. Thank you. That was a good one.
Speaking of infinite wisdom, who comes on right when I say that but Jay Billing? Wow, this is an all-star team brewing right here. Hello, Mr. J. With the flower in his hair. We might have to sing about the flowers in your hair song.
I saw this flower laying on the ground outside my house, and so I picked it up and took a picture with it.
Nice.
And then it's me of Dana Tomasino.
Jay,
Yes.
welcome back, brother. With you here now, it is perfect. I can say that with confidence.
Hey, wait, what was it before?
It was Jay wasn't here. It was perfect modulo Jay, to put it in Brett speak.
I know what it was. I know what it was, Peter. It was pre-perfect.
Pre-perfect. Well, I don't know. That doesn't work for me quite yet. I think we just have to reframe the definition of perfect. Is it was perfect before and now it's perfect now, and it's
Now it's even more yeah, exactly. Yeah, we don't need to compare. Now it's perfect now. That's it. So
yeah,
welcome to the perfect now, Jay.
Thank you.
Yeah, we've been having some fun since 6 a.m. and then the whole day before that. Well, you were on last night. I saw you last night on the block party, Jay, and boy, we've just been having fun with the conversation. And we took a field trip and picked up Elizabeth on the field trip off to hear Dana talk. We went on the field trip to Dana, and that's where Elizabeth jumped on the party bus.
I just saw your 8 billion butterflies coming at your flower all at once.
8 billion butterflies? Is that something Jay has to tell us about?
Jay shared in Dana's, that was one of the things that Jay shared in Dana's session that caught my ear and heart, that we're all 8 billion human butterflies, or however many we are.
There's a lot of goo involved too, I think, at the moment, as far as the butterflies.
It was in the midst of the heart meditation that we were doing, and we were asked to sort of, speak a word or a phrase about, what that is like as we all are in coherence, with each other and with the earth, and as we raise the level. And so butterflies came to my mind, like as more and more people transition. I said 7 billion human butterflies.
I could not believe my eyes when 8 billion butterflies came flying to the flower all at once. So I joined the conversation, kicked my feet up at the lounge, and next thing I knew, Peter was rolling on the ground. I try to make myself believe that climate change is not happening, but every time I look outside and I see another dead leaf, I'm reminded of a thing called reality.
Amen. Riffing big time.
And by the way, if I ever start riffing, just feel free to grab the mic and just start busting out yourself. It's all about the co-creation here.
Well, I will do that because I have a little butterfly, part of a butterfly song myself, as I have this one fable about the butterfly and the caterpillar. And when the caterpillar becomes butterfly, then he opens his butterfly eyes and he sings. He sings, "My butterfly eyes, my butterfly eyes. Imagine the joy, the shock and surprise when I open my butterfly eyes." So that's just such a transformational moment if you can dare to feel into this caterpillar who kills itself, wraps itself up, turns itself into goo. Then the goo starts imaginal celling, and then the butterfly starts going like this, still not knowing. I mean, in my imagining, the caterpillar is still thinking it's a caterpillar, not sure, waking up from a bad dream, and right, and just starts busting out, and then opens these butterfly eyes and sees its wings, right, and then just gets a grasp of what's happening and opens its butterfly eyes to go, oh my God, right? What have I become? and just the joy and the shock and surprise when we open our butterfly eyes. Yeah, there you go.
And this is right now what's happening is we are the imaginal cells, and we're now not just discovering each other. We've been discovering each other, so to speak, for eons, but mostly who we were discovering were folks who put the focus on publishing something monetizable, right? And so we're all there. So with a reference to your image with everyone sitting there with the dark glasses, which I can share in a moment, we're just like, mesmerized by, whether it's Noam Chomsky or, even Barbara Marx Hubbard. And some of you got quite close to the flame, and good for you. And thank you and bless you for making those journeys, right? But now we're actually able to talk with each other, right? It used to be hub and spoke, but now all the spokes have turned into this beautiful swirling spaghetti. And or actually it's the spaghetti wheel, Elizabeth's Barbara Marx Hubbard circle of creation, or whatever. Good, is that right? Circle of creation, anyway.
Yeah.
Blasphemy!
Elizabeth, because you mentioned Barbara Marx Hubbard, I looked her up, and she was saying something about getting a whole mate.
A whole mate, yes.
Yeah, and I thought, oh shit, I didn't get the whole mate.
Well,
She was a super downloader of words and concepts.
Yeah.
Super downloader. I mean, I had my own issues with Barbara, just to be like transparent, and like she was no saint by any stretch of the imagination. Like I learned a big lesson from Barbara, because I'm really big on veneration and the lineage of consciousness. And like, for me, the greatest thing, I thought the greatest thing in my life would be to like meet Timothy Leary or John Lennon and all the people that have kind of laid the foundation. I've always been like that. So meeting Barbara was quite an interesting thing for me in herself. And she actually like hung out with Bucky Fuller and Timothy Leary. So for me, it was like this portal into all of these people that I've always like venerated and all that. So it was an interesting relationship to like realize it's not her thing, it's my thing, that everybody is human and everyone is different. And just because you say something doesn't necessarily, like, she was one of the worst co-creators I've ever met. As far as on the ground co-creation, like the everyday co-creation was like this far away from the downloads of her material, which again, I've also learned is quite common, like that. And I've seen it in myself now. Like I can go around talking all day and all night about co-creation and concepts and self-organization, and then like, get home and get angry at somebody for something, or not be a good friend or whatever that is. So I say that in jest and with love for Barbara, and also to always be real. Like she was like quite the package.
Why did you meet her? What was the context in which you met her?
My wife started kind of getting messages or downloads in 2012. She had like a spiritual awakening, and she's basically hearing voices, whatever way you want to call it, getting downloads, getting messages. And we were in the early stages of our project, and we had an alpha software called NoomApp, NOOMAP, which is based on the idea of the noosphere, which is something that Barbara we found out was talking about, and other people, but she was sort of carrying the fire for this idea of Chardin and the noosphere. So we were like coming to our own things around that. And I think my wife actually got a download saying like, you need to read Barbara Marx Hubbard or something. Like she had never heard of her, like, or you need to read the book Conscious Evolution or something like that. So I think at one point we picked up the book and we were like, oh my God, she's talking about all the stuff that we're thinking about. And I think I put a post out on Facebook, because that's what I do. I just impulsive. I just don't wait for anything. I just put a post out like, does anyone know Barbara Marx Hubbard or something like that? And Sherry Herndon, Elizabeth, do you know Sherry? You might know Sherry Herndon a little bit. Yeah. She responded, because she's always was close to Barbara. She responded and said, oh yeah, the noosphere, new map, I love it. And she introduced us to Barbara. So at that point, we got to know her a little bit. She tried to help us. She got us to Australia to meet somebody who was potentially interested in helping her and funding her. So she invited us. She put a little blurb actually in a new edition of Conscious Evolution about New Map. And then we stayed with her in Santa Barbara for like a week or two. And then we stayed in Colorado with her at the end of her life, basically the last couple of years, for a few months. So she was sort of like a mentor and a friend and someone we listened to. She was kind of like a grandmother. We always called her the grandmother of the noosphere. And that was part of my journey as well, because actually I think I wanted that from her. Like I wanted her to love us like children and like look out for us and believe in us in exclusion to everything else. I don't mean to ignore other people, but to love us that much and to like back us. But she had this thing where basically the next biggest thing always came along, because she was so, understandably, now I understand it, desperate to realize her dream of this synergy engine and everything, that like if you came along and you were wearing a suit or you had a background and you had an offer for her, she kind of would leave you behind in the dirt. And I'm just being honest, because I love her and it's all good. We're all, I don't consider this gossip. It's just life experience to me. And it's all good. So that was our journey around the whole thing. And one time I finally spoke up to her. And then after that, she didn't like to be spoken up to. I was like, why are you here telling us how to self-organize? Like, I was like, you're the worst leader I've ever seen. Like, you should stick to talking because you're good at that. Like, I said something. It was not necessarily super mean. It was super honest in front of a whole group. And she really didn't like me as much after that.
I resemble that remark. I had a similar moment with her.
And to be honest, whatever I'm sharing is kind of common knowledge. Like,
yeah,
you know, she sabotaged a lot of projects with her own stuff. And again, I've done the same.
You know, like when somebody's in a kind of, they've written a book, they've got lots of admirers and followers and things. They're kind of in a guru mode to a lot of people, you know, or a cult leader of some kind. I wonder if that situation is conducive to self-criticism. You might actually get a little bit out of hand, like a rock star or something, you know, and start smashing up your guitar in front of people and, you know, having tantrums. I don't know. I think you've got to be careful, really, haven't you? Really, when you get some success.
There's something called luminitis.
It's terrible.
And Barbara admitted to me at the end of her life. I mean, I also had a interesting relationship in that I met her at a retreat, and she was talking to a group of people, and I was just I had no idea who she was. I hadn't even heard of her, and I was at a retreat separate from her, but she was there, and she was chatting to a whole bunch of people and talking to them and not looking ahead of her. I think Brett wants to hear this.
What do you mean?
I think he'll be right back.
Yeah.
Elizabeth, what do you mean she was looking ahead of her? What do you mean?
Well, it was mealtime, and I was standing by the salad bar just waiting with my plate. And she had come into the dining hall, and she was, you know, being the luminary, and people were all around her, hanging on her every word, and she wasn't paying attention where she was going, and she walked into me. And she stopped, and she looked up at me, and she said, and she kind of blinked her eyes, and she just looked at me for a minute, and she said, "Oh, it's you." And the thing I realized is that I had dreams before I met Barbara. So we both had this moment of recognition. And
that's so interesting when you say that, because I've met quite a few, only very briefly, but mostly, but people that were significant to me because I've read something or I've watched their videos or whatever, or they were in a play or something. And when you meet them, you just kind of know you were meant to actually physically meet them. And, you know, I'm not talking about being awestruck or anything like that. And you just get the impression that they know you as well. You know, they're the public figure, but somehow you get the impression that they know you as well. That somehow you've dreamed yourself into, or thought your way into their life.
Yeah, and she had that recognition before I do. It took me like a day and a half before I recognized that I had dreams with her, and they were very much like a cosmic planetary council, and she was part of the council. And so I made that link later, but when she was like, "Oh, it's you," but it wasn't fully peaceful. She would like invite me to take on a project, and I would say yes. And then as Brett said, she would get distracted, or she would invite someone else to be in charge of the same project, have forgotten that she had, or disregarded that she had asked me, and you know, those kinds of things. And the thing that Barbara admitted to me and to others, we were in a room at the end of her life, is that she recognized that she had never learned how to love. Patricia, her sister, was the heart, right? And is all heart. And Barbara was all very mental and very much about her ideas. And she held herself in an ivory tower with her ideas, and was very happy when people gathered around those ideas, but she was very uncomfortable when it got real. And when people...
And so in a way you could say that those people that gathered around were her missing heart. You know, they supplied the feeling that she was not in touch
Yeah.
with. And so she probably felt a kind of need to have all that. Because to a lot of people, having a sort of a group around you that admire you, it could be quite tedious, couldn't it? And it could be quite a bother. You know, it could be something that could be quite a curse to some people. Not everybody would like that at all. Yeah,
but she thrived on it, and she kept it up until she died. She kept having people around her, and it's really a need she had. But I will report that she found love. She found a certain relationship with her own heart that had taken her quite a while to really trust and get to. So.
And did that take the form of, like, the video that I just saw, because somebody mentioned it today, was she was talking about a whole mate. Did she mean that in terms of a partner, or did she mean it like people to have the same purpose with?
It came in the form of whole mates and relationships with friends. And you know, I think she had that love relationship with her sister. Certainly she did. But even Patricia said that she only went so far in terms of that unconditional, absolute love. And I think that Mark Gaffney, I think, helped her with that at in the last few years of her life. in that, you know, joining of genius, but also other people. My friend Nahid really helped Barbara in that towards the end of her life. And it was beautiful to see, because Barbara was absolutely a lighthouse. She was for me, you know, in so many ways. And, you know, as challenging as it got, I kept up with her, and I kept up with the people around her. And I really recognized that I was not drawn to Barbara as a luminary. I was really attracted to the people that gathered around her.
I just want to say thanks for sharing, Elizabeth. I opened up the portal just because people are watching live, again, not to gossip, but to have a real conversation, and just continually try to establish, like, it's all good. We all have our own growing and growth and evolution to do. So I'm not blaming or anything. And I know my own responsibility as well in all those kind of things. But I just wanted, I like to have a real conversation around it, because I mean, I like to venerate people and celebrate people. I mean, she just passed, obviously, but it gets a little bit tiring for me when we're always only like sycophantic. Not you, but like as a group, like sycophantic around people, because that was one of the issues for me. No one hardly ever said anything to her, and I'm sure it's like that around a lot of people. So it just keeps perpetuating because no one like says anything. So I kind of feel like I want to play that role in her space, but I want to do it with love and like honesty. But it's good to have a real conversation about it without being like, like malicious or blameful about it. So thanks for sharing and like making it real.
Yeah, and she is one of the most important people in my life, and always will be, in terms of what she taught me. And it was precisely what I needed for my own journey. And she was brilliant at that. And I really honor her for that. So anything I'm saying, again, is kind of public knowledge. People were present, you know, and people knew about it. And we all had different experiences, because as she kept trying to draw people in to create her vision and make it real, she would draw people in and then kind of feel like, oh no, this isn't quite it, and let them go, and just poof, let them go. But the thing with the group I was with is that she also kept us close, because she knew that we were the closest that she had gotten to what she was envisioning, and that we were growing together in this beautiful crucible that she had created. And, you know, turning into a butterfly is tough, right? You have to turn into mush first.
I'll share the funniest, almost paradoxically best thing she ever said to us. I don't remember the exact situation. Of all the amazing things she said, which was a zillion things. And one time she looked at us or something. I think we were just having dinner or something. She said, guys, if you want to be a visionary, just stay alive. We all got a good laugh at it. I mean, a lot of things stayed with me that she shared with us, but that, because there was some comic relief with that. And it really also hit home, because we've been trying to live in this gift paradigm and go around the planet with very little traditional funding, and we don't know what we're like doing. It's all, you know, co-creation, emergence, and novelty, and it's like, just stay alive. It's all you gotta do. It's all you gotta do. So don't worry about it. Don't worry about everything else.
Just keep breathing.
And to her credit, she outdanced and outworked like any of us at age 86, 7, 9, whatever the heck it was. We were all like, she'd get up before everybody, do more than everyone, and then at dinner be dancing. So I don't know how that just goes to show you when you're super sexed up, you can do a lot.
Well, she rewired herself many times.
Right on.
It's nice to
And it was a common experience as well, being around some of the elders that, and other stories I've heard, like as far as the guru thing. A lot of them do get quite stuck in patterns of, this is what I teach and this is what I talk about. it's, I mean,
And,
I could see, again, I could totally see it in myself now as well.
but do they,
Becomes your story.
what about the humor? I mean, she didn't lose the sense of humor, did she? You know, she had a sense of humor to keep her grounded.
Yeah, no, she had
She had a
sense of humor,
fantastic sense of humor. She was an imp.
yeah.
Yeah. And if you got her giggling, and if you got her laughing, it was a joyous experience. Yeah. Hmm. I'm
Beautiful. Thank
really
you.
feeling her right now. I mean, I didn't get to, but I wanted to say, okay, you know, you come back and you give us a sign. And to me, I feel that's part of this conversation, because I really feel her presence right now.
Yeah,
We
exactly.
love you, Barbara. Thank you.
Just hearing you, here we are
Mhm.
here we are in day one of emerging in this different way and looking to use her wheel and, you know, so many of the things that she spoke of.
Mhm.
And here she is, right? And
Yeah.
to create even just the two of you who had such a connection with her. Of course, people who had connection with her are going to be in the zone here, right? And be drawn to this kind of wholeness.
Right. So Peter, you just put in Neil Donald Walsh's name. Do you know Dinama?
I do. Yep.
She's
Yeah.
one of my big star sisters.
We met at the Co-Creators Convergence in 2012 is when I met Dinama and Julie Kroll and Shelley Darling and Linda Rosenthal. And as I had been connected with Bob and Noel through Conversations with God stuff before that, Humanities Team stuff, because I got involved with Neil in the Conversation with God program in 2000. And I took the calling and moved to Ashland, Oregon, and ran the youth program for Conversations with God for 5 years. And amongst many other things, we started a school and we did summer camps. We put together the questions and helped to edit the Conversations with God for teens. And, you know, everything from opening mail to putting on retreats and symposiums, and just really got to live right in the inner circle of a new age author who was just busting at the seams and traveling the world. And, you know, the success of book one, of course, was practically unparalleled. And then to continue to write and to continue to have the following. And I mean, he's written another book every year for the last 20 years, at least one a year for the last 20 years. I mean, he continues to do his thing. And now his oldest son, Nick, is his right-hand man. And Nick was in the youth camps with me 20 years ago. Right. And so it's just a gorgeous thing. And I appreciate you guys, you know, having the real conversation that it's really hard for those folks who are on that edge, like Barbara, like Neil and others, to do all the things and to be all the things that everybody wants them to be. And he helped me understand that for myself, that, you know, everybody is so, you know, the people that are drawn in are so wanting that connection, so wanting that ability to be close, so wanting that approval, validation, whatever combination of things. And it's just impossible for those leaders to provide that. So you end up with a bunch of people who don't get what they thought they were going to get when they did what they could do to support a program or a cause, or in this case, an author or a movement. And so that, yeah, everything you guys said, that being drawn, and particularly what you said, Elizabeth, being drawn to the people that were drawn by him, right? That subset is where the magic is. And his job is to go out, in this case, Neil's job or Barbara's job, go out and get more people for that next layer, right? And only a few people can dance in that inner circle and help him do that, or help them do that completely. But then it's the empowerment of that next layer of people to empower them to go out and create the rings, the ripples from there. And that's a really hard ride. a really hard ride for the top person in that old model that we're looking to recreate here, where there doesn't need to be a top person, and everybody's contributions are equally glorious, and create that space in this conversation and in this growing story of, come here and show us the flower you are. We're putting it into a big bouquet, and let's all support each other how we can, and team up with who we feel drawn to team up with. And already just with this circle, it's like, oh man, Elizabeth, I'm coming to go to the river. And Brett, my God, I've never heard anyone talk togetherness in the way that I felt you talk togetherness today. And so we're going to write the fables together. And Jay, I met you last week and was just like, grab that guy, right? It's like, and James, I'm just getting to know you, but I know that if you've hung out this much with Jamin in this group, that you're one of those tribesmen too. And Emery, we're already side chatting and figuring out how we can do other stuff together too. So already just in today's first day of the conversation, I find myself with 6 or 8 new comrades that I want to play with. So, it's beautiful.
Hurrah for that. Yeah, so the co-creators convergence was the Barbara Marx Hubbard crew, the mentors. So yeah, they were all in the room when I had my stand up to Barbara.
Yeah.
And it was only Patricia that kept me in the room. She just kind of came over and hugged me and said, stay here.
Yeah.
Keep going through it. We'll get through it. You're okay. You're absolutely right. And just
right.
don't run away.
Right. Exactly. Oh, that's beautiful. And I felt the same. I had those same couple of moments with Neil, where there was times that we were just so not in alignment. Right. And I had what was clearly a brilliant idea that could help him and help everyone, but it was clearly something that he just had no way of wanting or needing, and then the dynamic of that push and pull, and then who's going to speak up, right? Is someone going to speak up and say, hey, wait a minute, are we really doing it this way? Are we really trying to create this? And if we are, then doesn't this kind of need to be in the soup somewhere? And those kinds of moments, as you feel right now, Elizabeth, are powerful moments. And just what you just said, can we just stay with it? Can we just stay with this idea? Might be brilliant and it may not work for him. Okay. Right. And deal with what shows up for me, and the wanting of validation or the wanting of something that then I didn't get, that then put me into my own stuff. And it's like, okay, this is part of my journey, huh? All right. Can I breathe with that? Can I just be with that and know that if it was meant to be, it would be flowing forward, and it's not, so it's not. And of course, it sounds easy now, 20 years later, but in that moment, yeah, it's
trusting the process that it is getting us here right now.
Yeah,
is exactly where we all need to be.
Amen.
Yeah.
Wow.
And honoring.
I gotta take off. Oh.
Yep.
I've got to take off. My wife's been waiting for me to come and hang out after a long day. So I'm just gonna check out on this awesome note of just being in a really nice, deep, interesting, all connected conversation. Conversations with God was a really super important book for me when I was in my 20s, I guess, early 20s, I guess. So really cool that you are familiar with that and how all things come to tie together. So
yeah.
it was really a pleasure to be here with all of you for a couple hours, and I'll see you, I suppose, for the conversation as it becomes a 24x7x7 event at some point. Yes, Mr.
Yep.
Jamin.
We'll be around. We'll be around. What's your wife's name? And does she get on these calls sometimes too?
She never gets on these calls. She's very introverted. She's been learned to get on calls because we've had to do a lot of communicating and talking. So it's been a thing for her, but I'm gonna get her on here at some point for sure, actually. But no, she doesn't generally gravitate like me to hanging out with everyone. But yeah, that would be nice.
What's her name?
Andrea. Her name's Andrea.
All right. Well, we'll put some good energy for Andrea to come join us when the time is right, and trust the process on that too. Awesome.
Yeah.
Good to meet you, buddy.
I'll bring her to the Divine Feminine. Yeah, I'll bring her to the Divine Feminine. That's where she needs to drop
You'll
into that
love
meeting.
it.
I think it's a good
Love it,
spot.
love it, love it.
Yeah, totally.
All right, Brett.
All right. I love you guys. Take care.
Are we on for Friday as per usual? Okay.
Yeah. I'm going to send you an email about that because I need to come up with some kind of solution because some people will be used to the thing and I got to figure out how to make it lively without repetitive, but I don't know. So I'll send you an email.
We can even do breakout.
Okay.
So if
Take
you're
care,
here-
everyone.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
Love you,
what
Brett. Great stuff, man.
That's what I thought.
Awesome.
All right. Take care. Bye.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
See you soon.
Take care, bro.
I'm going to go back to eating, and so camera off, carry on.
You're going to go back to putting more quarters into the tip jar?
No. Eating with the camera off. Didn't you notice, Peter? I sent a message to everyone. I was a good boy. I was a good boy.
Oh, I guess I missed it. I had scrolled up. I missed your.
Okay.
Anyway, not
I'll
important.
be eating with the camera off, and then I'll take a nap so that I'm recharged by 4 o'clock for the.
Okay,
4
then
o'clock
I got us from 2 to 4.
Okay, awesome. Thanks, Peter. I'll still be listening in for a bit.
Well, yes. While you're sleeping, we'll be talking to you.
I mean, I'm eating still for a bit, but with the camera off.
I want to thank you, Brett, for your warm welcome.
Yeah, pretty cool. That guy's got a whole bunch going on there, doesn't he? Let's see. Some lighting better here.
And the record, we're still recording, and we can pause or stop recording, whatever you guys want. I'm just here eating and just listening in, just enjoying myself.
I'm going to have to get off here myself at some point, but not quite yet, but soon.
All right. Well, we'll figure that all out. Jay, are you around? You want to tell us a little bit about you and what brings you here, and give us a little more of what's up with you? Preferably unmuted. Yeah, there we go.
I had just been listening in, sort of, curious about coming into the conversation and, lending my voice to whatever transpired. So, really, just as you were talking about the conversations with God, that was it's definitely a major turning point, for my own self-discovery was reading those books back in whatever that was, 1998 or 1999 when I first read them. And I think, one of the, whatever year it was. And I remember reading them and it was like, oh my gosh, this is like the things that I've been, telling people, or just like, I connected with it in such a visceral way that, things that I had been feeling in my own heart for a long time and, had never put into written form. And just really, really connected in with that. So just that you were talking about, spreading that, further afield, and, the way that has touched so many people, and, that we're all truly, part of the same, sort of part of the same mechanism isn't quite the right word, part of the same entity, if you will, here, doing this thing and, being this thing that we are. So I'm super grateful to just join in and be part of this, this little family connection. It feels like this, I felt it immediately. It's funny, when I first tuned in, I think I told this to you, and saw you, Peter, on one of the Unity Week sessions. I was like, there's something about that guy that, I need to, just feels like I need to connect with. I didn't know what it was at the moment, but there was something. And then it, went, whatever it was, it went, a week or two, and, there you showed up, and, here we are now.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And tell us a little bit about your program and what you've been up to with the way you share your gifts.
Well, I have, I'm pretty deeply involved in my 4:00 room. I'm deeply involved in a group called Earthwaking. That is, its founder, Jonathan England, is sort of, in the same mold, getting getting direct downloads, if you will, and using that as a teaching method. So when I met Jonathan and his wife Mel, and the community that they had been working in Austin, where I live, it was again just like an immediate rapport, like a brotherly familiarity with the whole thing, and have made a lot of connections in that community as well, and really deepening those relationships. The sort of the three keys that Earthwaking sort of is, or the three sort of big vision items that Earthwaking is on a mission for, is reinvent the education system, unite all religions, and reinvent the monetary system. So just
yeah, you started small.
Yeah.
So it's sort of in that, and then I have had for a very, very long time, probably nearly 30 years, a vision of a sort of community, probably very nature connected community experience. And I knew I knew for myself what I had seen and what I had experienced in other communities, where eventually there had always been some amount of discord and sort of ego that has derailed the communities that I have sort of inquired about or connected in with a little bit. And what I realized is that there's this much bigger picture, that it can't just be about starting a new community or building a village or whatever, that it truly needs to be the entire ecosystem that does a reset, that is truly the transformation from caterpillar to butterfly. Like, it's that level of transformation that's required, and the entire old system needs to be turned to mush and then repurposed from its own ether to grow into this new dynamic creative beauty, right? And so it's looking at those concepts and working on working on a community model that can be repeated. So that is what we're working on right now, trying to establish. First location will likely be in Costa Rica, but there's a group of us that are actively engaged in bringing that about, and it includes an entirely co-creative economy piece that I've sort of landed on this idea of a quantum economy where everything is taken into, everything that you can think of is taken into account for how it affects everything else in the system, as opposed to, you know, the typical scarcity economy that we have been trained in, that is about competition and you know, that someone, it's a win-lose paradigm. And so in this quantum economy, that is where everything is treated as an input and as a, you know, part of enhancement for the whole. It's a very different structure that necessarily needs to come about because of that. So that's some of the things that we're working on.
Awesome. Wow. That's a big club to swing.
Well, also it is, but at this moment, like, I mean, part of this, the beauty is that, you know, all of these organizations, like, look at all of the momentum that is already going, you know, and it is because, like the conversation that was just going on a moment ago, it's because of, you know, the groundwork that was laid by, you know, quote, gurus, you know, over the last 100 years or whatever, right? You know, people who have opened up the minds and hearts of humanity to be able to think outside a dualistic paradigm. And so we are now at this precipice of truly, you know, all of these the people and the energies coming together to you know, say, okay, we're ready for a little cocoon time. You know, we're going to completely, you know, let the caterpillar go and you know, allow that system it was great for what it was, right? Like, you know, I got fat as a caterpillar. That was awesome. But, you know, now is the time for those who are, you know, ready to wake up, to, you know, do it with purpose. And we have this opportunity, and, you know, this conversation, it's like a perfect example of it. You know, this conversation of conversations, like how, because we have this forum of Zoom or whatever other platform, you know, ends up emerging, you know, through all of this, it is, we have the ability to connect with people that we never would have connected with before. And how beautiful is that, right? Where we can really recognize, like, I mean, World Unity Week, what a beautiful gift that we all got to be part of, right? To the whole planet, and just, you know, upping this level of love and, you know, our true nature. Like, that is I feel so blessed to get to be part of, you know, of the people who are standing up and saying, hey, guess what? You don't have to listen to, you know, the news. You don't have to listen to all the doom and gloom. You don't have to be stuck in the way that you've been living your life, And here's an example of, like, look at all these people who are coming together, having this conversation, who are, furthering this, our evolution to, tying back to conversations with God, the next best version of ourselves.
That's beautiful, Jay. I want to bring through a thread from early morning call at the Unity Network Open Earth sessions, where another Jay really brought forth the idea that we're actually rebooting our molecular ecosystem. That we're rebooting from a molecular level, that it's not just, ideas or spirit, that we're really rebooting from inside out on a molecular level. And as Barbara said, creating Homo universalis, right? We're creating actually a new species. And I feel that happening inside of me. That really resonated, because that's what I'm feeling. I'm hardly sleeping, and that's okay, because it's like time is now.
Yeah, so right with you. I used to love to sleep, and now it seems like by the time 5 hours has gone by, it's like, you're up. I got stuff to do. It's now, and I don't want to go to bed as early as I used to, and I don't want to sleep in. And it's like, I've got it, right? The download landed. Whereas just even a month ago, or well, not a month, but 3 months ago, even before the pandemic, it's just like, okay, the next thing's going to show up when it does. It's not here yet. I'm just coasting right now. People would say, what are you up to? I'm kind of coasting, and then here it comes. And wow, now it's full on game on right now, right? As I come to know that it's all right now, I want more nows, right? And the co-creative energy is so rich, right? It's just like, here, just today, connecting with you, Elizabeth, we had a tiny little connection before, but it's just like, oh man, I got another sister there. And Jay, I'm going to get to talk to you and understand more about how we weave and what this is. And then James in Ireland, and Emery's over in Montreal, Canada. And, it's just like, and this is just the start, this isn't it's just like, what's the next hour going to bring? Elizabeth said she has to go. Maybe Jay implied he had to go. It's like, okay, that's all right. There'll be someone else. Or like I just put in the thing, I might want to go to this youth meditation at 3 o'clock and do a field trip over there. And, let's just play with what's happening and trust that the comings and goings of people aren't beginnings and ends, but just expressions along the way. And here we go. Beautiful.
Beautiful. Yeah.
It feels like a good point to pause recording too. Shall we do that? It's up to you. Because I can start another record. I'll tell you. Let me pause recording. All
okay,
right.
So we're getting to the time where a few of us lounge wizards are going to move on to our next sharing of magic. So I'd like to do just kind of a little closing moment here, where maybe each of us share what this last hour or so has been. A little bit less for Jay, a little bit more for Elizabeth, I guess. I don't know, how long has it gone by, Elizabeth, since you got here? Has it been 3 hours? Or?
Probably pretty close, yeah. But I woke up at 4 o'clock in the morning to start my conversation for the day, and have been weaving in and out of circles, and yeah.
Yeah, what a way to live, huh? I mean, we used to just get something to eat and sit down and see if there was something on TV, and now we're just magically transported around the world.
We are the TV.
Yeah, we are it. So maybe some closing thoughts from you about how it's been to be here in the field today, in the lounge.
Yeah, so the lounge is an interesting term. It's like, what do you do in a lounge? You just have conversation. You hang out, you share, you put your feet up, you get to know your crew, you tell jokes, you sing and dance. I mean, what do you do in the lounge? Part of me is very action oriented, and that was this morning, and it will be tomorrow again on the open earth sessions. I have another hour and a half, 2 hours tomorrow to take what we gathered in our session today and really bring it into what's next steps. So I'm very motivated by those kinds of things. And as much as Jamin was saying, the big boot, it's like, okay, I've been kicked in the ass many times. I keep getting this kick in the ass, and I can hang out in the lounge all day long, but what's next? And so that's a lot of my motivation. And so for me, I've really enjoyed getting to know a whole new circle, and I'll definitely be back. But I'm interested in really what's next and how to make it work, because only time is now. And I've been saying that for years, and now I'm hearing other people say it. It's like, okay, let's go. So, and I love the connective field, but I believe we can be the connective field in action as well, and in organizing, and I'm really looking for that in as I come into circles. And if we just keep talking about it, and I've been there, I've been doing that for 50 years, right? And I need to build a bridge for my grandchildren, because I'm looking at the end of my life. So what am I going to do? If I have 40 years left, I'm blessed. But if those 40 years go as quickly as the previous 40 years, then I know that time is now. So yeah, so that's kind of what I'd like to drop into this beautiful, very creative, very stimulating, intellectually inspiring circle. And Peter, I feel like you, James gave the invitation, and Peter and Jamin, you were my welcome committee. So I'm happy to be here. And my focus is really water, and so I'll keep talking about water and hope that I can get your support in terms of how do we get every watershed taken care of, and the life in the watershed taken care of, because it has to be boots in the ground. And we may not have this internet, the solar flares may come and knock it out, so we have to have actual physical, tangible redundancy in what we're doing here in our own communities. And that's what I see the Watershed Wisdoms councils are, and then we'll connect via watershed, and I believe our governance is moving in that direction, that our governance should be aligned in our watershed, so that the Yuba River connects to the South Fork of the Yuba, connects to the Middle Fork of the Yuba, and connects to the North Fork of the Yuba, which connects to the Feather, which, and keeps concentrating until in this concentric of each pod, is what I'm calling them, is no more than 12 people. And those pods each have a plenipotentiary that moves to the next concentric of the watershed, so that it continues to be linked. And the purpose of the plenipotentiary is not to speak for his own or his or her own voice, but to speak for the voice of the group. And that way we're aggregating judgment, we're aggregating wisdom into eventually the one water body on the planet.
Amen.
Yeah, so that's a vision I'm holding, and I'm really excited to share it with you guys, because there's so much to that, and it's been sitting with me for many years. And I do feel like this is a group that I can land it in and get some really proactive, co-creative support in.
Yeah, that's definitely, we haven't talked about that much, but that's the next step there. You know, the purpose of meeting is then to find teammates and go do what you do.
Yeah.
Right. And to use this as a what's the word I'm looking for, but a collection field where you can plant your seeds and find the people. Hey, who's got, you know, here's what I'm doing. Who
Yeah.
wants to come this way? And that, you know, to some degree, it's like, great, go do it, Elizabeth. You don't need to come back here until you need to come back here. Right. It's not that clingy, please come back, we're going to be here, you know, kind of
Right.
energy. It's more, come back if you want. Once a week on Wednesdays, you want to do water hour, and we'll highlight that, and we'll urge everybody toward that. And once a week you can come back and say, that's what I'm up to. And in the meantime, we have your stuff up on the website, and whenever anybody brings up water, there we are in the chat group saying, here's a water thing, go there. You know, just tell Elizabeth you came from the lounge.
The lounge, yeah.
And
You're one of the wizards.
Well, that's right. Tell her you're a lounge wizard, and you get a free gift, some Rice-A-Roni.
And I love the certified compassion. You know, that's a level of validation and sort of vetting that is helpful. If you can come in to the Watershed Wisdom Council and we know you're already verifiably compassionate, then yeah, we're ready to dance and play.
Yeah, awesome. Whew. All right, Jay, you want to wrap up your time with us?
What beautiful work, Elizabeth. Thank you for sharing that. And like I like hold that vision, you know, along with you of every watershed sort of being the lifeblood of itself, right? And thus the whole planet. So let us remap.
Right.
I guess a brief thing that I have latched on to about time, that we know that time is an illusion, and yet the clock is ticking. I just that paradox is like perfect, right, for all of us as we, you know, move from Zoom to Zoom and you know, use every one of our now moments to you know, spread more love, but also, you know, we all get to be super effective with what we're up to. So I'm just very, very thankful to be part of this conversation, and, you know, the bigger conversation that it is, that it leans into with more and more people showing up each time. Thank you, Peter and Jamin and others for holding the space or setting up the space to do it. And, you know, and there's our girl.
Hey, now, oh my goodness!
You guys are still awake.
I'm about to take a nap, a much-needed nap, so that I can relieve Peter at 4 o'clock. But welcome, Dana. I'm so grateful for you. I hear nothing but great things about your presentation from earlier today and discussion. I just love you. I love you all. I'm going to stop this recording now, and then Peter, if you want to start a new one, you can do it. Peter's now the new host. Welcome, Dana. I'm so happy you're here.
Thank you.
Happy you're here. Thank you.
I'm just kind of popping in and out today.
No problem.